All right. So let me unmute everybody. Okay. So we're live. All right. It's about 8 p.m. Friday night. I have three boys here, the masterminds behind Maverick Apparel and MVK Music Group. So these guys are really rocking Florida, United States, and they're reaching out to US and all kinds of venues and business that they're doing. It's a big deal what they're doing. They're shaking, the grounds. I want to introduce Mr. Brian Paul, Jesse, and Attila.
You got
it. All right. What's going on, boys?
Mark, how's it going?
Hey, how are you?
Good, pretty good.
Doing well. Thanks for having us.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you for you guys being my very official Backstage with Regis podcast. So we don't have beer, but let's pretend we have one and let's just sit back and have a good time. Sure. So let's go to the point, what we need to talk about it. So before we start, I want to tell everybody that you guys are located in Orlando, correct?
Correct.
In Orlando. All three of you?
Yep.
Yes, correct. Yeah. All three. Yeah, all three within the Orlando area.
Yeah.
Nice. And I want to know, the first question I have for you guys, I know Jesse and Brian, you guys started off, but whose idea was to start this? Maverick first, Maverick Apparel.
So funny as it is, Jesse and I, we've known each other for a long time, and we seem to come up with ideas, succinctly. We have the same ideas. We come to each other, and he's like, "Oh, I already thought about that." So we kind of talked about, starting a business a while ago, and we kind of filtered through some ideas. We weren't sure what we wanted to do, and one of the things we knew is we wanted to get into the apparel side because we both having background with branding and stuff like that. We wanted to create a brand, a actual apparel brand. So that was kind of our first concept. We kind of knew that we wanted to go the route of doing something with MVK and getting into music, but as we were trying to plan that out, we wanted to basically launch something that would help us with branding. So we kind of talked about it, and we tossed names back and forth, and he and I were in the middle of the night, texting each other, what are we going to name it? What are we going to name it? And I think it may have been Jesse that actually may have suggested Maverick. But the idea of Maverick is somebody who doesn't follow the crowd. And that's exactly what we wanted to do, is we didn't want to follow what other apparel companies or other people in the music industry were doing. We wanted to be our own, identity, our own self. So with that, Maverick was born, and we kind of built the platform that not only were we going to sell shirts and accessories, but we wanted to give a platform to up and coming bands to be able to promote their music, promote their shows. And so we kind of launched with the apparel side and then started getting into endorsing bands.
Nice.
Yeah, it was one of those things, Regis, where like Brian said, we're spitballing back and forth, and we came up with other other avenues or other areas outside of apparel, but we just seem to kind of keep always circling back to the apparel side. And like Brian said, having that background in some marketing and in branding, we just kept circling back to the apparel and using that as a platform to create a brand that's recognizable not only locally but obviously eventually nationally as well, and to give a platform for up and coming artists and up and coming bands. And I think the ideas all just kind of fell together, and here we are.
That's awesome, man. When did you guys start it, the apparel company, apparel site? How long ago?
Yeah, so we launched Maverick. The idea concept came about in 2016. I think we officially, correct me if I'm wrong, Jesse, but I think we launched in early part of 2017.
Nice.
Yeah. The idea came about in 2016, but kind of officially into a production of types 2017, and just continued to grow it from there.
Nice.
For us, it was really about, we had to create a logo or something that with identity to it, and then start thinking about, the type of products we wanted it to, to sell. And the big thing there was, obviously it's twofold, right? Like we said, promoting the up and coming bands, but also, everybody, I mean, I probably got more shirts than anything else. My wife's like, you take up more of the closet than anybody else. But the thing about it is like, I would always, like to represent a favorite band shirt or whatever. So getting into the apparel side, we wanted to make sure that we had designs that people were going to like. So it was a little bit of that planning phase before we kind of launched it with the site.
Yeah, the beginning of it, the baby steps, it's so enjoyable, but it's stressful. I think the most stress was the name.
Yeah, well, and it really is stressful because, we're always our own biggest critics.
Yes.
And every name you come up with or every design you come up with, you have to sit there and think, well, I like this, but will others like it? Or, I may not like it, but everybody else does because I'm just being too critical. And that's where the stress comes in.
Yeah, people don't understand. Now, before we go to MVK Music Group, how do you guys, in the apparel side, how do you guys divide the tasks as a bit? I'm asking as a business owner because I do work with my wife in a way, but not, she's always, like let's say I have an idea to run in my business. And then before I make that decision, which is weird, I had never done that before, I ask her, what do you think if we do this? So it's funny because she gives me an idea as a customer, not as an owner. So how do you guys go by that, you two?
Yeah, so, besides me and Jesse, I mean, we have a great graphic designer. So all of our, our apparel designs and artwork are done by Ketsia, who's our graphic designer. But, with any of the day-to-day tasks, we kind of like to do, work on focus on our strengths. So there's certain things that I'm more strong on or that I like to take care of and things that Jesse excels in. So, it kind of just falls into place that way. It's not like really, but anytime I have an idea, I bounce it off of Jesse. He does the same thing. And 9 times out of 10, like I said before, we already either had the same idea or it aligns with what our thinking is. And so there's very little back and forth when it comes to making a decision. It's pretty much like, yeah, I'm good with that because I kind of had that same idea myself.
Nice.
Yeah, it tends to be one of those things, kind of like Brian said. I don't know if we necessarily like officially divvy up certain things. It's just a matter of, I have the strengths that I focus on. He has the strengths he focuses on. But, Brian mentioned the word synergy, and, we just have this vibe that we work very well together to where, I rarely ever have to question an idea or, like he said, if I go to him with an idea or he comes to me with an idea, 9 out of 10 times, I was just thinking that same thing. But at the same time, we have a level of synergy that also is accompanied with a level of trust to where, I know if I'm not available because of something and Brian needs to make a decision, he's going to make a decision that I trust, and chances are I would have made the same decision. We right. It's kind of one of those things where we really just work very well together, and that's right. Carried over to the MVK side as well.
Right. Speaking of MVK, Attila, how you came on board and how did that all start?
Yeah, so I met Brian. Brian and I, we met, I think 2007. We went to school together, college. And then he was the guy that I'm a big Alice in Chains fan. And then of course, besides, other things, music was something that we were, started talking. And then I was like surprised that this guy loves everything, I love. And it was just like, kind of like creepy, but and then he knew a bunch of stuff that I knew, about, and then the love of grunge and stuff like that. So we started to, hang out and go to concerts and stuff like that. And then I met Jesse through Brian, of course, back in, I think, 2013 or something. And then I was always sort of like the biggest fan of them when they started Maverick. And then they basically included me, like asking questions. I worked in tourism marketing. As Brian and Jesse, marketing and sales. So I was like, I was just like glad that, you know, I can have them out, and we were brainstorming together and stuff like that. And of course, we were dreaming of something like Maverick to work with bands and other stuff. And then when it's, you know, it became reality, I was still there, not officially, and then officially. So it's just, and that's what Jesse, you know, said, my biggest deal is transparency. And with these two guys, like, it is just like so, you know, easy. As Jesse said, if, you know, if any of them makes either Brian or Jesse, I trust them 100% because we work for the same goal. We, you know, build this from scratch, and that's the most important part of, you know, this whole thing, other than, you know, what we do and want to be successful doing it.
Right. Right. I think that just like a band, I think a band should start from a group of friends, and the rest will flow. You know, the music part and this. If as soon as you guys get along, everything else, man, it's manageable. You know, that's my point. You know, and I think if you guys keep that sort of relationship as having a business for 16 years, you guys will rock, man. You know, it's just a matter of time. And I like that what Jesse said for a business owner point. If there is trust between you guys, the rest is easy, man. You know, partnerships are hard. Now, the part of the endorsement, okay, Maverick. Can you guys break down the two groups for people that don't have an understanding how you guys do? Because you guys have like a big umbrella. So
Yeah,
there's, like
so
Brian said, there's a little confusion. Just clarify to everybody if you can, brother.
yeah, so on the Maverick side, obviously being the Apparel side, when we launched it, you know, we started with a handful of bands, and we started with a good friend of ours. It's actually based in Orlando, actually friends of ours because they were all collectively in a group called Leaving Haven. But they were kind of the first band that we endorsed. So we, like I said before, we knew that we wanted to use that platform to work with bands and endorse bands, and so we started off with them. And I remember the first time they played show at House of Blues with our apparel on, and everyone's like, why are they wearing all the same matching apparel? You know? So we started with what we call signature bands. So they were kind of like the founding, you know, fathers and mothers of the music side of Maverick and endorsement side. So we started with that, and as we continue to keep building momentum, you know, Jesse and I sat back and we're like, well, we would love to be able to endorse everybody, but we can't, you know, theoretically just be giving stuff away or be expanding too much and too quick. So we kind of halted the brakes on the signature side when we got to a certain point, and we decided to roll out what's called general endorsements, which are endorsements. So when we get a submission, we review them and we decide if we're going to move forward with offer them an endorsement or not. The general endorsement bands, its ability to still be involved, be endorsed by us. You know, our signature bands, I think they get the benefit of maybe playing in some of our shows, although I think we've been talking about getting a lot of the generally endorsed bands more involved in some of our Maverick Present shows. But, you know, we kind of grew it to two sides, like I said, the signature side and the general side. And we kind of, right now, we're kind of capped off for the time being. We don't want to, you know, get too big. And again, you're going to hear this throughout the, you know, call tonight, is that we're very big on family, and we're, you know, we don't want to get too big to where we can't, you know, show everybody the utmost attention. So if we get too big and, you know, we don't know who's who and what's going on, it just kind of diminishes the value of our brand and what we do for the bands.
Right. When you get too big, you start losing quality. You know?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, and that's really what we don't want to sacrifice, is the quality. And yeah, obviously, you know, having a general versus a signature, there are different levels of benefits that set the two aside, but we still, you know, put a lot of attention into the general endorsed. And, you know, like Brian said, you know, we want everybody, regardless if you're a general endorsed or a signature endorsed band, we want everybody to feel like they're family, because that's what we have built this on, is, you know, the Maverick family or the MVK family.